Welcome, everyone. We are dancing our way into this episode of What Is She Thinking? You're overwhelmed? Well, your brain left the room 20 minutes ago. And the lovely Heather Collins and I have both been experiencing a little bit of overwhelm recently. So we are dancing to get ourselves back in the zone, in the room together here with you, right? Because that is one of the things. Be here now.
Get in the zone, baby.
As the hippies or Ram Dass or one of them once said, look, you may have got this where you are going to work, dropping off your kids, trying to plan ahead for your book club, and you suddenly can't even remember what day of the week it is. And actually something amazing has happened and you realize you weren't even really there for it. I know with some exceptions that has happened to me. Dr. Heather, you've had all sorts of incredible stuff going on, and sometimes have you felt a little checked out anyway, or not present?
I have definitely felt checked out when we're overwhelmed. And I've had all these, great things happen that have been amazing. And I just keep thinking, oh, I need to get on to this next thing. And the great thing gets chucked over to the side. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't always feel great. It feels necessary at the time, but doesn't feel great. Have you had that happen recently?
Well, I don't have necessarily been with great things happening, but I am looking around at a new pile of moving boxes all around me. And I'm like, yes, where it's like, I just can't get on top of things. And so we just wanted to talk about this because it's, we teach about presence. Both of us talk about the power of being in the moment to give you access to your fullest powers, right? Your brain, your perception, your decision making. And yet it can still happen to us that you get that tunnel vision, you get trapped under a pile of moving boxes or a pile of to-dos. And we just want to talk about what to do when that happens to you, how to get out from under it, and why it is so important that you find a way to access now, even when, as you were saying, Heather, it feels like the last thing you can do is take a moment to pause and be in the moment, have a little dance party, right?
It's always good to have a little dance party.
Oh, it is always good to have a little dance party. But when there's a lot going on, we called this, your brain left the room 20 minutes ago. When we have all this stuff going on in our lives, where are our brains? Where are we?
Well, our brains are physically here, but not mentally here, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Tell me more.
Yeah, we've had that feeling. And I'm sure you've had the feeling where somebody's talking to you and they're saying things that you probably should be listening to. And yet they're waiting for an answer and they say, well, what do you think? And you all of a sudden have a deer in the headlights moment and you think, I have no idea what the question even was.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't here. I wasn't present. And it's really challenging because what's happening is our brain has moved elsewhere. It's moved on. And it's either thinking about the future, about the past, or distracted by something shiny that goes by, or something that's stressing us out, or something that's pressing to us. And it's elsewhere, my friends. It's elsewhere.
What part of our brain is to blame for this? Which section of our brain? Is it the anterior ventral cortex?
It is, all of those three words refer to parts that are relevant. Yes.
But they're not a real part of the brain, are they?
They're not a real part of the brain per se, but they all compose parts of the brain. The hard thing is, this is one of those situations where we can't point our finger and blame one part of our brain. This is a network problem, my friend. This is our default mode network in particular. So we've talked about this before. Our default mode network it's kind of humming along when we're not doing anything specific, and it's very helpful for a lot of things. Well, the problem is when it's overactive, that actually decreases our ability to be present. And when our default mode network is upregulated and overactive, then our attentional networks are distracted and not engaged. Our working memory capacity is diminished and not engaged. And really our prefrontal cortex is not doing the kind of critical thinking it needs to do for you to be a relevant part of the situation you're in. So there's a whole lot of brain networks and parts of your brain you can blame.
Okay, well, that's good. I'm glad I've got somebody to blame. Oh my God, it's me.
Uh-oh.
Oh boy. But I mean, one of the things I wanted to do though is like, we nearly called it like, stop telling me to be present. I'm trying, because I think we do this a lot where like presence is hugely important, but also a lot of people are trying, right? They feel like, well, look, I'm trying to be in the moment and take a deep breath, but there are just so many things competing for my attention. The ambient noise of what is going on in the world, what is going on in the community, what is going on in the family, what is going on in their own circle, and then their own thoughts. Like, there are so many concentric circles of noise that it's very hard to just be like, okay, what exactly is right in front of me that I want to pay attention to, that I want to give meaning to? And I think we need to give ourselves, I mean, I feel like we say this a lot, but one of the first steps in recovery and overwhelm recovery is being like, whoa, actually, this is a lot, right? Like, actually, there's a lot going on. And I'm curious about the piece that is, it always feels like you can't slow down. And I know this from leading people. I know this from my own personal self. When you are the most overwhelmed, you often feel like you cannot stop. So what's happening then?
It's really our brain's working memory capacity doesn't know what to fit in. So we've talked about this before. You can kind of think of your working memory capacity as almost the seat of presence. It's kind of what presence is elevated on top of and sitting on. So we can hold really maybe like 3 to 5 things in our brain at one time. And when we say working memory capacity, that's within 30 seconds. So what's happening is every 5-10 seconds, something's shifting, and maybe one goes away and another one comes in and moves in. So it can be really difficult for us to really focus on one thing when information is constantly moving in to our working memory and out. It's a big challenge for our presence. And you talked about how you do a lot of coaching with people, you do a lot of keynotes talking about the importance of presence. What are you hearing from people about what this is feeling like in their lives right now?
What I hear though is how good it feels when people are present. What I hear from people is how special and memorable it is for them because I'll talk about moments I've had where I was working in Zimbabwe and I was very cross about something in London, and I was on the phone on a sat phone, and this guy climbs out of the bushes and says, shh. And I was like, don't you tell me to shush, right? And he's like, no, shh, right? And I thought, perhaps I should listen. And I turned around and there were elephants, like a whole herd of them, a whole herd of elephants behind me. And I dropped out of a state that was very not present. It was not me being in the bush in Zimbabwe. It was me being half in London, where I was not, and in, being upset about something that had happened in the hour before on air. And it dropped me into, oh my God, I am standing in the bush in Zimbabwe with a herd of wild elephants and baby elephants. And honestly, once upon a time, crazy as this is, I probably would have got back on the phone and been like, and another thing, right? And maybe not, but wisdom and age, I was just like, call you back, click. And that to me, so when I talk to people about presence, like sometimes I tell that story because when you allow yourself to let go of whatever it is that feels so important and just be there now. It's another book. You can tell I read a lot of these tomes, but you allow yourself to kind of just stand there in that moment at a safer distance. I mean, I don't know how long that actually was. I don't know how long in real time I watched those elephants and I watched the babies like squirting mud at each other, like throwing dirt on each other. But I remember that now, like full sensory memory, because I was completely there for it. I let go of everything that actually was unimportant. I can barely remember what I was upset with London about, which felt very important. But I was actually present for something really magical that most people probably don't get to see. And like that is the power of presence. It's not always going to be elephants, but it is like being able to switch off, being able to switch back into the moment. It gives you access to something very, very different. Emotionally and experientially, and then I think years later.
Does that work? Yeah, it gives you access to memory.
Oh, I know. Ooh, I threw in elephants and memory,
and hippocampus. Because when you're present, you're actually able to pay attention, and we know that what you don't pay attention to, it's in and out of your brain. In one ear and out the other. That's it. And when you're able to actually be present and in the moment, you're able to take in the small details. The baby elephants throwing mud at each other, the sounds, the smells, the sights. You're able to take everything in, and your brain is processing that in so many different ways through your somatosensory cortex, through your hippocampus, making that into a beautiful, rich memory, through your limbic system, adding your emotion to it. That you're making that memory into something that will be lasting years and years from now, something that you can call back on. And I loved when you were talking about the story, you said you were re-experiencing it. And that is one of the greatest gifts of presence. Something that we can re-experience and that brings us joy and meaning years after the fact.
Ooh, say more to me about that. Give me an example for you of one gift of presence, like one where you have
that. My example is when I was on stage with Madonna.
Okay.
It was a situation in which I had very little notice. I had a maybe 5-6 minutes notice that it was about to happen, only because security had hustled me aside and was, making sure I was a safe person. And I thought to myself, I'm going to take advantage of everything I know about how the brain works. I'm going to be as present as possible. And one of the things that meant for me was ignoring the fact that I was on stage in front of 18,000 people I didn't know. And what that could mean for the future. Because one of the dangers of presence is that we slip out of it by thinking of what could happen if. And slip into future consequences. And I knew that was a danger. And part of what I did was just focused on what Madonna was doing and her face and what she was saying so that I could be a good partner on stage to her at that time. And that's one of the things I did to make the most out of the experience. And as a result, there are videos of it, but my memory is a little bit different than the videos. My memories are of the way she looked at me and the way her hand felt around my waist when she pulled me in, and small things like that weren't visible on the videos.
And very sensory, right? Like
very sensory, very sensory. Absolutely.
I'd like to say, I think your Madonna one might beat my baby elephants. This might be it might be more rare. I think it's more people who've hung out with elephants than Madonna.
It could potentially have been equally as disastrous. Well, not literally, but things could have gone terribly wrong. I was nervous about wearing my 6-inch platform go-go boots on stage and biting it, because that could have very likely happened, and it didn't. And one of the reasons I think it didn't is because I was present.
It's interesting because, like, again, this goes back to like where you and I, where our work overlaps, right? Because for me, it has always been that you have to stay in the moment to make the best decisions you can. Because the more you are, or the more I've always found that I'm in the moment, the more information I can take in, right? The more that I am right now, I could see more, hear more, get more of a sense of who is around me and what they're doing. And for not just for bad stuff, but for good stuff, right? You see the friendly face, you see the good, you see all of those things. And it is the closest thing to giving yourself like a superpower. And you don't need, like, I'm not saying don't prepare for things, because it is important to prepare for things. But one of the tricks that I have learned over time is I've become a lot more confident in not being over prepared for interviews or shows, or, I mean, honestly, anything. But that might be my insula. For those of you who are new, my insula is the part of me that makes me special, I think, right? It makes me a risk taker.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But that because I have confidence that if I am fully present in a moment, if I show up, if I'm grounded, if I'm really with the people that I'm with, if I'm really aware of my surroundings, then I will be able to make good decisions. I will be able to respond appropriately. I will ask the right questions. And, I don't need to have a script or rehearse in the same way. And, I remember somebody giving me really good job interview advice, which was, listen to the question and answer it.
And that sounds so basic, but
a lot of people, right? You prepare in advance and then you're not actually listening to what you're being asked. You're listening to what you imagined you might be asked.
Yeah. And you're rehearsing that in your brain. And if your brain has slots for 3 to 5 things, that's taking up 3, then 4, then 5 slots. And that question doesn't make it in.
Mm-hmm. So whereas if you're present and you're looking at the person, and you're noticing something that maybe you two have a little bit in common. Maybe there's a way your body language mirrors. Maybe there is something you saw. They have a sports lapel pin that's the same sports team you love. I use sport. I don't know why I use sports analogies, considering but something like that.
Somewhat ubiquitous.
Yeah, I know. But when you're really aware and present, those kind of things become opportunities. And in the same way, you become aware of risks. So, it is true that to this day, if I go to like a drugstore to go pick up a lip gloss, I can tell really quickly who the person is who is going to get done by the cops.
Well, that is a very special skill.
But it's because if I'm not in my head thinking, oh no, I didn't think about the show that Heather and I are doing, and I didn't finish that next chapter of the book. If I'm actually like, I wonder which lip gloss is going to be the most amazing on me. Ooh, these are amazing colors. If I'm really in the store, and if someone catches my eye, then I will pick up on cues and things they're doing, and it twigs something in me. And
so I'm really curious about, is there a time when this has saved you from something disastrous possibly happening?
I don't know, because it's always saved me, right? So I've never.
I don't think the skill was honed buying lip gloss in drugstores.
No, getting shampoos in Erbil. It's more fighting to avoid forced blood tests in Basra. Those kinds of things.
That seems important.
Oh my God. Like, don't let them give you a blood test at the airport in Basra. Just don't. Like, fight it to the end. I'm not sure that was presence, but it's just a good top tip.
Something. It was
it's
good
a good top tip in general. Look, I do think it has saved me. I've told this story a few times, but it is one of the reasons that you drive with your windows down. Often, if you're entering somewhere that you know is quite kinetic or potentially kinetic, then you'll keep your windows down, because like jogging with your, iPhone on, you can't hear what is around you, and you want to hear what's around you. And if you hear street life, that's a good sign. If you hear nothing, not a good sign.
Oh, wow.
So when things get really quiet, I mean, it could be like Ramadan during the daytime, but a lot of times it is because people are off the street and because things are tense, something's going wrong. And so then you start to be on more high alert, and you probably tell me what my brain is doing. But like for me, I'd be on more high alert, and then my senses would become more aware. I'd become more keen. And so, yeah, I've been in places where I suppose that's literally saved my life, because I've been in a position to grab the driver and scream, "Turn around, turn around, turn around."
Ooh.
Right before a firefight rolled out into the street in front of us.
Ooh.
And it not because I'm psychic, but just because I was so present, because I knew I needed to be, that I was really aware that there was something wrong. Almost on a subconscious level.
That's with respect to your brain. Your brain knew that it needed to use all of its resources to be present about what was happening and take in all the information it could. And if you had things going on in your head that you were thinking about, those would be competing for your attention.
But isn't it okay sometimes just to check out? Can we talk about that?
Oh, checking out is great. In some situations.
Like, because I'll say that night I got back to my hotel in Homs, Syria, and I can't even remember. I had something on my laptop, and I was listening to like some pop music, and I watched I think I watched Remington Steele. It was something of that ilk, just to shut my brain off. Or I remember when I was in China doing a really high pressure project, watching The Wire. And still to this day, if I'm under a lot of stress, I watch a lot of Law and Order. I'm sure there are other people out there who do this with me. I watch Law and Order. And it is my brain shutting off. Isn't it okay to sometimes not be present?
Well, the interesting thing is you actually are being present.
What?
You're being present to Law and Order.
Bum, bum.
Bum, bum. There's something to that, right? So this form of checking out is actually you being present. It's just you choosing to focus your presence on something that you know is going to bring your cortisol levels down a little bit, ease your stress, give you some interest, some perhaps if you're watching a comedy, some laughter. We often seek out comedies for laughter. So sometimes checking out is really you telling your brain that you need to check in to something else.
Ooh, I like that. It feels a little like rationalization, but I dig that too. What do you because one of the things
it's true.
No, but I agree with you, because I actually one of the ways I think we can do presence basically is by not trying to do it all the time. Right? By not trying to put this pressure on ourselves to be totally there all the time.
Well, the fact that we can be totally there all the time is a myth. Your brain cannot do that. People, stop believing this myth. You cannot be 100% present all of the time. If that's the case, you would never know what you're thinking, because you would never be able to turn inside and internally examine your own thoughts. And that's important too.
Yeah. What she said. Yeah, mic drop. We're done.
We're myth busting today. Presence is not 100% of your time. And presence, in fact, is very, very limited. So the duration of time you can actually spend being present, honestly, it's probably on the order of seconds. And the key, the trick is knowing when your attention has slipped and you're no longer present, and then pulling yourself back. That's the.
Can I tell you a story?
Please.
Okay. So I'm in Bolivia and I'm interviewing Evo Morales. Now, I mean, it's me and like 15 other Bolivian journalists. And I don't speak Spanish at this point, and he doesn't speak English. And just with the power of presence, I interviewed him. Just with the power of presence. And how this relates to what you were saying is, I gave that man such serious eye contact and like such serious, like, I am with you. Here I am. Like, I just gave him every bit of presence that I have. Like, I know how to like, just, here I am. I'm with you. I'm mirroring. I'm here. I'm grounded. And so he was talking straight to me. But because I didn't understand him, every once in a while, I would suddenly find myself thinking, like, I wonder where we're staying tonight in Cochabamba. And I sure like that tea. Like, right? Because I was like, I was working really hard, but I didn't totally understand what was going on. And so I would have to find myself in the middle of this without breaking a sweat or eye contact. I would find myself be like, Mel, no. Hotel later. Eye contact with president now.
I love that.
So
the power of presence, people, the power of presence.
The power of presence. The power of presence. So what are your, I mean, what do you think are the top tips for people that will help them maintain presence or help them regain it, I suppose, when they've gone into overwhelm?
No, well, the first step is just noticing when your presence has slipped. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing. Has it slipped or has it not slipped? The second thing is finding out what you're supposed to be present with. Are you supposed to be present in a conversation you're having with somebody? Are you supposed to just be present with your own thoughts? Or are you supposed to be present with law and order? And that's a big distinction. That's a really big distinction. And then understanding that you can only fit so many things into your working memory at one time, 3 to 5. So if you intend to be present, that one thing, you need to keep reminding yourself of that one thing because it could slip in and out every few seconds. So you're going to need more than one reminder, and that's okay. Just keep reminding yourself. How about you? What are your top tips?
I think one of it is to remember that it is actually a way to have a breather, because sometimes I think we forget that overwhelm makes it feel like presence is impossible. But when we drop into presence, it actually gives us relief.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think of it as actually, it's like a little bit of relief in the unrelenting hellscape that can be daily life right now. When you give yourself that time, now I might be seconds, but say you give yourself 5 minutes to, I know my example is always say, play with your dog, or watch Law and Order. Yeah. For example, it would be to remind yourself that presence can be a reward as well as like something you're doing to be like as a virtue or to get ahead in your career. Like presence can be a reward. And that's one of the things. And to not beat yourself up too much when you find yourself leaving it. Like if you find yourself leaving it, like me with Evo Morales, just be like, oh, I'm doom scrolling, or whoops, I just completely zoned out, and come on back, because it's another way to abandon yourself, to beat up on yourself. So I think those would probably be my top tips. Like Everything else, I think you guys know, and it's sensory, right? It's to find those things that are in the real world. And we talk about that a lot, right? So if you want to find a way to be present, it is sniff a baby consensually, not like somebody else's, like a friend's baby or your own.
Don't get arrested.
You know, all of that stuff, I think we know. But I would remind yourself that it can be a reward, and not to beat up on yourself and not to abandon yourself. So that's it from us, I guess. Anything else?
Presence can be a pleasure.
Ooh, well, it's been a pleasure to be here with you today, Dr. Heather.
It's been a pleasure to be here with you too. And it's been a pleasure to be with all of you out there.
And I only thought about that hotel in Cochabamba once or twice, guys, while we were doing this.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad.
Funny for me. Anyway, yeah, it's been a pleasure to be here with all of you. I'd love to know when you have found yourself slipping out into the outer reaches when you were supposed to be doing something important, or your own top tips for staying present when it is hard, and it's hard out there. Aside from that, we will see you next week. Like, follow, subscribe, sponsor us for a brand partnership, whatever you like. And until then, what is
she thinking?
Bye, everyone.
Bye.